say are probably one of I just think the prequels, they're actually pretty decent, and not a lot of people can say that. A lot of people
Hello everyone and welcome back to the James Rambling Show, coming at you live on Friday night. Tonight's your host, James May.
Hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Show. It's about time that I actually discussed movies. So, man, I just love movies. Probably one of my favourite passions ever. And recently I saw The Batman. Probably one of the best movies I've seen in a while. You're talking about some absolute great action, great storytelling, all of that. But I don't like how they had to throw in this whole idea about white privilege and the Batman family or the Wayne family. There was absolutely no need for this, but, I'm not going to get into that because it's pretty obvious where that's going to go. So overall, Batman was probably one of the best movies I've seen in a while. I've seen No Way Home, but this movie, The Batman could easily win an Oscar, and if it does, man, that is going to be very good because that movie, beautiful, just amazing. But enough of that tangent, right? The MCU, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Disney. Okay, let's start with the MCU. Everybody knows what the MCU is. Iron Man, Captain America, stuff like that. I've just been absolutely into that. Probably seen the Avengers movie probably 900 times at this point. I've seen all the Marvel movies a lot of times. I didn't see that Spider-Man animated movie though. I seen that last year, I think, or this year, something like that. There's a lot I can say about the MCU, but the MCU has changed a lot as well over these 10, 20 years it's been around. And, it's quite a normie thing, but I think Infinity War is probably one of the best MCU movies we've seen in a while. Thanos just one of the best villains, and then when it gets to Endgame, I just the Endgame, in my opinion, is probably where the MCU could have ended, but they still sort of made good movies after that. But the MCU, I've been really into it, but if I was to say now, am I actually that into the MCU nowadays? Well, I do like the MCU. Moon Knight, kind of enjoying that right now, but I'm not over the top excited about it anymore. But it's not to say that I don't like it anymore or anything, but definitely have changed my mind on the MCU and definitely just not been a super duper fan, but I still appreciate the work that goes into those movies. So heading into Star Wars, you've obviously got episode 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. So episode 4, 5 and 6 are very good movies in general. 7, 8, 9, 7 is okay. Not the most amazing thing ever, but it was fine. The first time I saw that, I absolutely loved that to death. That movie was I just loved that so dang much. 8 and 9, I don't really have an opinion on it. It's just meh. Star Wars is a thing, and yeah, that's what that felt to me. It's I just felt yeah, Star Wars is a thing, by the way, the movie. So it's just, yeah, just not a lot to say on that. But people are about to get absolutely shocked when I say this. I just think the sequels, or the prequels I should say, are probably one of I just think the prequels, they're actually pretty decent, and not a lot of people can say that. A lot of people say the prequels are trash, the prequels are trash. No, you could argue that there are some cringy parts of the prequels, but when compared to the sequels, man, are the prequels much better. Darth Maul, Yoda and the spinning stuff. There's some amazing action. The whole storyline with Anakin and Obi-Wan, in my opinion, is fascinating. Just seeing that whole entire story grow, that whole story nurture into something amazing in the end. Yeah, it's just really good. Disney movies are just, I'm not really that into Disney movies that much, but if I was to say, like, I used to be so into Toy Story, and I didn't watch Toy Story 4. Just not really that into those sorts of movies. Harry Potter's just, right, I'm not that into Harry Potter either. It's alright. People overhype it too much, and it's just okay in my opinion. It's not the most amazing thing ever, If I had the chance and the time for it, I would probably be able to get into it. But as you all know, I'm not really in. Like, I'm more into Lord of the Rings, and as somebody who loves that sort of thing, you'd be like, "What? You're not that into Harry Potter? How does that make any sense?" And you can say that, but just never really had the motivation for that sort of thing. And I do actually want to go back into Marvel and stuff like that, because people that say, everyone loves Spider-Man 1 and 2, right? But they say 3 is probably the most annoying movie, and it's just, there's too many villains and there's everything like that. Dude, it has, there are some villains that overtake the movie and ruin it, I guess, but dude, the symbiote aspect is probably my favourite aspect of that movie. And then Billy Maguire comes into it. We start seeing a lot there. So the Spider-Man 3 movie, it's not even that bad. People just find reasons to hate movies way too much. And I've had times when I hate movies way too much, and then I'll backtrack and realise, oh, this movie was okay. But films like Spider-Man 3 are overhated, and Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, right, I think Andrew Garfield as a Spider-Man was very, 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 very underrated, because he is actually quite a good actor, and people say, oh, it's terrible, so many villains, right? It's the same argument with Spider-Man 3. So many villains, so many villains, so many villains. They say that every time, but then you have to take consideration that this whole thing of impacting the story where Spider-Man loses Gwen and he grieves and all of that plays into it, where it's actually a very compelling story. No, everyone forgets about that, don't they? And people, man, the Spider-Man movies, they're very, very, very good. But I have to say, I'm not very into, like, horror movies. It's not really my thing. It's not like, oh, I'm so scared of everything, and that's not the case. But it's just like, I guess it's sort of like Harry Potter, where I've never had the motivation. I've just been like, whatever, it's a horror movie. Okay, because every time I watch a horror movie, it's on Halloween, and I'm a bit of a normie when it comes to this. I just stick to the normal trends and everything. But I mostly watch those on Halloween, like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and stuff like that. My favourite Halloween movie of all time is actually The Shining. Probably one of the best movies ever. The suspense, everything about that just makes it so amazing. Jack Nicholson, as you all know, he is the guy behind it all. Here comes Johnny, that whole iconic scene. And then Doctor Sleep is basically about his father and everything, or his son or whatever. I'm sorry, because I literally forgot the entire plot. That movie, Doctor Sleep, is the definition of sleep. Okay, 2.5 hours long. Now, I watched The Batman, and that was 3 hours, but that was deserving of it, right? There are some movies where they drag on way too much, and you could say about Return of the King, where it's like 3.5 hours long, but Doctor Sleep, for a concept like that, it is 2.5 hours long. undeservingly 2.5 hours long. Just very, very, very bad and just and man, just horror movies and stuff like that, they haven't really been my thing. Like, when it comes to comedy movies, there's people that say Adam Sandler has terrible acting and everything, and how his movies are so cheesy and yada yada yada, and everyone just doesn't like Adam Sandler's movies. And then there's Uncut Gems, which I've not seen, but there's that, like, I think Adam Sandler, while there could be like this whole thing where, yeah, I agree that there could be some sort of reasonable hate against Adam Sandler's movies, but personally, dude, I never actually minded Grown Ups, and everyone's gonna be like, what? That movie is so bad and so cringy and everything, but I think I watched that a lot, and when it's the time when you want to find something else, something funny or whatever, something goofy to watch, Grown Ups, it's just about parents and kids and stuff, and it gets cheesy and blah 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 blah. Yeah, dude. Just Grown Ups is actually, it's pretty decent, but I wouldn't say it's like perfection. It's probably like, I'd say like an 8, not 8 out of 10, 7 or 6 out of 10. It's not like 20%. Like at Rotten Tomatoes, like they say, oh, Adam Sandler movies are like 20%. They're 2 out of 10. Well, they're like 6 out of 10, right? They're not bad, but they're not good either. So, when we're talking about comedy movies, we've also got to bring up Nicolas Cage and Ricky Gervais. Now, Nicolas Cage is getting a new movie now about his life and himself, basically. But I've watched a few Nicolas Cage movies. Face Off is probably one of the strangest movies I've watched in a while. These two guys are basically trying to become each other, and they separate each other and try, like, their face comes off and their different identities, and yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, but the movie itself is pretty good. I actually love Nicolas Cage's acting. He's a pretty good actor in my opinion. I'm actually wanting to see that movie about him, so that's kind of why I'm watching the movies he's made, and it's sort of like the first time I've ever watched Nicolas Cage movies before. And there's also Con Air, but this airplane stuff and stuff like that, and Nicolas Cage has long hair, and that ties into it. And then we have Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais, everyone knows him, that guy at the Grammys, he calls out everybody, the Office guy. Yeah, that dude is absolutely funny. Yeah, man, and then there's Jim Carrey, The Truman Show, arguably one of the best movies. That whole idea where somebody's life is just a TV show, and then they find out this whole mystery of, oh, I realised that my life is a lie, and he sort of man, Jim Carrey is very good, but Jim Carrey is the Riddler compared to Paul Dano in the Batman, and I always mention the Batman again, but sometimes I can't stop thinking about movies, but Jim Carrey as the Riddler was probably one of the worst performances ever. I just hate it when Batman isn't taken seriously. Man, oh man, I don't like it when that happens. I know, man, like, the Dark Knight Trilogy, I don't know why I freaking did not, I should have mentioned this earlier in the episode, but the Dark Knight Trilogy, man. Batman Begins, freaking 9 out of 10, man. Flippin' amazing. Christian Bale just destroyed the show. He just proved to you all that, yes, he is a very good Batman. The Dark Knight is probably one of the best comic book movies in a while. Heath Ledger makes his appearance, and that sort of thing happens. And just Two-Face, and that was very good. And then we had The Dark Knight Rises, which people say, oh, The Dark Knight Rises is terrible and everything. But I think that I sort of do agree with it, because The Dark Knight Rises drags on, and now, I'm somebody that seems to be really into his long movies, but yeah, again, when it comes to dragging on movies that shouldn't be dragged on, that's when I'm like, yeah, this movie should have been shorter. The Dark Knight could have been The Dark Knight Rises could have been like 2 hours long at most, you know. But man, just the Bane thing, and I don't really get. I just didn't like the Bane thing. Like, oh yeah, hello, the Batman, hello there. And I never knew it was Tom Hardy the whole time, but Bane is a cool villain, I guess. But it's just not good compared to the Batman Begins and Dark Knight, because the Dark Knight, Batman Begins really, really opens the door for what this is really trying to aim for, and then Dark Knight just doubles down on that. So yeah, man, that I guess that is going to do it for today's episode. You actually get to see me talk about things way more, because I just know a lot about movies, man, and you should just definitely go and see The Batman. Absolutely amazing. And I'm just gonna end this by saying, like, some other movies that I kind of want to see, and man, just stuff like that. Man, I think the Sonic movie has potential. The first movie, I seen the first movie and it was okay, but yeah, man, that should be very good. And I said Nicolas Cage movie, and actually Morbius. Like, I actually still want to see Morbius, and coming off the fact that I really, really loved the Venom 2 movie, unlike other people did, I just think I might actually like Morbius, and it's going to be quite an underrated opinion once I do eventually go to see that movie, and I'm like, yeah, that movie was very, very decent. So yeah, I hope you liked that episode where I dived so much into movies and everything. It's very, very different to when I was talking about games, because I really didn't have any idea in that episode, because I'm not really into games. And yeah, see you next week for more episodes of the James Ramblin' Show. And man, if I'm still here after what I said about the prequels and stuff like that, yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. But I have did the hot takes, did the COVID, did all of that, and I'm still here. But let us just get out of here. I am vengeance.